Good morning and welcome to the JMCSS podcast for the district. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. Today, I am joined by a very special guest. He's a winner, he's a husband, he's a father, and he's a mentor for several students, really not only in South Jackson, but throughout the city. Brent McNeal, the head coach of the Southside Lady Hawks, joins us. Coach McNeal, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
So we are on air, but since it's a podcast, typically I gave everyone the heads up about the hands on the, because what I learned, Coach, from the first episode was I had my hands on the desk and I could hear, as I listened to the radio, I could hear the tapping and everything that happened. So I'm going to place my hands off the table. So, and that's what happens in coaching, right? You guys have the conversations before the game. So let me add that. Welcome to the podcast, Coach.
Thank you.
So let's see. Brent McNeal is a South Jackson guy, a Denmark guy. You're a Jackson guy. Give the folks at home a little insight about your background. I know you're a Southside guy, but you've got, roots in Denmark and throughout the city. Tell us what makes Brent McNeal Brent McNeal.
Like you said, just the roots everywhere. I actually started off as a city kid. I was in Jackson City Schools at that time, Whitehall Elementary, where I didn't even know school buses existed because at that time, the cities, we didn't have buses. Only the county schools did. Mm-hmm. And then life happened and some situations parenting-wise occurred and moved out to Denmark. And that's when I got a chance to kind of meet some different people, see some different faces, ride a school bus for the first time.
It's funny you say that because every time Solomon gets to ride the bus, he's crazy.
He's ecstatic about it.
All right, so Denmark and then Southside.
Yeah, of course, West Middle, and then went on the Southside where became a two-sport athlete, playing basketball for one of arguably the best coaches I've ever been around in Coach Tyson, and then just learning a little bit more about football from Jerry Hayes and some of those guys that just you get a lot from, not necessarily football-wise, but also life-wise, and learned a lot of lessons out on that football field.
Brent McNeal is the offensive coordinator for the Southside football team, and he's the head coach of the Southside girls basketball team. You all made an appearance in the state tournament, won several games while you were there, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But first, I guess you don't really realize it until you step out for a minute, and people talk about how special South Jackson is. I have friends in Gibson County, friends in Chester County, Henderson County. They always say, well, Southside's just different. Bemis is different. It's a little bit of Mayberry. It's a little bit of its own type of animal. In your own words, describe South Jackson.
Family. When you think about that side, we often make jokes about it, like we're all just one big family. And once you pass the Fork of the River, as they like to say, it's a different part of Jackson. Yeah. So, that's when, if I could just sum up out south, I would just say it in one word, and I would just say family. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your team for a moment. Actually, first, the first time I met you, and I know we're separated by a few years, we're both Southside graduates, Jimmy Arnold hired you from Northside High School. Mm-hmm. Talk about that experience. That was, help me out, 2013 maybe, 2012?
2011.
2011.
Mm-hmm.
You came home. How much do you remember about that day? Because it was a ceremony. It was a press conference. It was a special day. Take us back. What do you remember about that?
Prior to, it was a big, hard decision because being at Northside, I grew some relationship with those kids my first time teaching. Mm-hmm. So those kids, I got really close to that freshman class. And Mr. Arnold called me one day while I was sitting at work, and I was on my planning period, and he was like, I need you to get out here, come and talk to me. I said, well, let me talk to Ms. Watson, at the time, my principal, and I was like, let me make sure that she's okay with me leaving on my planning period. Second-year teacher, so I was like, I don't want to get in trouble for anything.
Chain of command.
Right. So, and he was like, hey, just think about it. At that time, he also had the AD, Mr. Jeffries, in there. And they was like, we want you home. You need to be at home. So he said, I'll give you 2 weeks. Literally, the 2 weeks were up and my phone rang again. He said, what is your decision? And after prayer and thoughts and thinking, I decided to let him know that I was going to come back. But I was like, hey, don't release it. Let me tell the kids here first, our football guys. And at that time, I was assistant football for Coach Val and also assistant basketball for Coach Brown. So I was like, let me talk to the guys. We got some stuff coming up. And at that time, we had a lift-a-thon for football. So I knew I would have a chance to get all those guys together at one time and tell them. And seeing 14, 15, 16-year-old guys cry, it almost changed my mind, honestly. Just like, wow, this is the impact that you have on kids. Might don't want to leave them, so. And then we had our basketball banquet the next night. So I was able to tell those guys, and I got the same response from those kids. It was a tough decision, but ultimately just an opportunity to come home. So then, like you said, the press conference, it's the end of school, though. So the basketball girls were in there, and that was basically, we had Jackson's son was there also.
Hawk TV.
Hawk TV was there as well. And man, it was different. Like, just, okay, I get to go to Southside. This is what life was for me.
And Brent, if I can interject, you described South Jackson as being family. And I remember at the time just kind of being impressed, like, wow, okay, this kid must be somebody. And so it was obvious that Mr. Arnold had a lot of respect for you. You made a name for yourself while you were a student athlete at Southside. You didn't burn your bridges. You went off to Tennessee Tech, made a name for yourself as a student athlete. You also got into coaching at the college level. And so you had taken care of business.
Right.
And you were able to come home.
Right. And another deciding part of it, my little brother was going to be a freshman that upcoming year. So I was like, hey, let's just go ahead and make it a family affair. So, and like you said, just building those relationships throughout the years, just walking through those halls and making sure just what I was taught as a kid, always respect your elders, treat everybody with the exact same respect. And it ended up paying off, 20-something years later, here we are.
Brent McNeal is the head coach of the Southside Lady Hawks, and they are having a stellar year. You came off that state tournament appearance. There is a lot of expectations for you. You have experience you have a big three, your seniors. Tell us their names.
Number 1, Albany Collins. Number 2, Tamia Lawson. And number 10, Jakara Anderson.
When we come back from this commercial break, we'll talk about the current team, and we'll also have your reflections on that first crop of Lady Hawks you had. Special time. We're visiting with Brent McNeal, head coach of the Southside Lady Hawks. You're listening to For the District, the JMCSS podcast on JJ 97.7 FM.
Hi, I'm Tad Pohl, host of the Morning Splash on Froggy 104, and a proud JMCSS parent. My wife and I chose Jackson Madison County Schools for our kids. Brooklyn is an honor roll student who has found an aptitude for art and is also a member of her school choir. And the twins are getting excellent instruction in pre-K and learning valuable social skills. The kids love their schools and their teachers, and we are very proud to be JMCSS parents. Jackson Madison County School System is a level 5 district and tuition free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition free, Jackson Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
I'm Takaya, a star student at Arlington Elementary. You're watching For the District. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Jackson Madison County School System podcast For the District. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson Madison County School System. I'm joined by Brent McNeal. He is the head coach of the Southside Lady Hawks. And Coach McNeal, you all are on a tear. You're having a great year so far. I know there's a lot of expectations to go with that momentum. You had your run through the state tournament last year. Talk about the big three, that senior class that you have leading your team right now.
Well, right now, we've just put a lot of leadership role on Albany, Tamia, and Jakara. Part of the reason they've all been playing since they were freshmen. So they've seen it all. They've been through the ups and downs. They've seen what success is. But the biggest part of it, they felt defeat as well. With defeat, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn how hungry are you, what do I want to do, and do I ever want that feeling again?
Wow.
So with those kids, man, we've had some hardship in their 4 years, with injuries.
You mentioned injuries. Let me interject. The young lady who's playing at UT Martin right now, Sharnice Curry-Jelks, she was really, I guess if you looked on paper, she was supposed to lead Southside the past 2 years, but she's dealt with injuries. Talk about a comeback story. Sharnice Curry-Jelks is really a star in her freshman year in the Ohio Valley Conference. So when you say injuries, they've experienced that.
Yeah, correct. She actually only played 2 years of high school basketball.
Wow.
She played her freshman year and her junior year. Got hurt during the AAU ball.
So I know when you say your girls have been through a lot, they have. Those seniors continue.
Yeah, so those seniors, they were put in spots where, hey, we have to lead. Right now we're not ready, but we have to. And now they're at a position where I listen in practice, and those three voices are just ringing out. Hey, we got to do this, and we have to do this. Hey, you're not in this position. So now you have three coaches on the floor with you where I may miss something, they'll see it, and we often talk about, hey, if your captains are saying things that's right, you have two choices. You listen or you got to get out the way.
Oh, wow.
So those kids, and we often talk about just talk to each other in the correct way, tell each other what we need to get done. And the one that's shocking me more than anybody is actually Jakara.
Really?
She is very quiet. She doesn't talk much. She grins and smiles, and that's about it. She's very bashful. She doesn't like a lot of eyes on her. But now I hear her voice all day, every single practice. Come on, y'all, we got to do this. Come on, y'all. And Albany, of course, is just the little bitty one. So
the little general?
They call her a little bit, but it's like in her mind, she's 6'6" when she has a jersey on, and she plays that way, and she doesn't get intimidated. And the biggest thing is we always tell them 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, just like you are, So they're high school kids. They're, no matter how big they are, at the end of the day, they're still high school kids. And then, we talk about her. You look at Quinadra, also another little bitty one, but just explosive, and she looks at it, and they actually talk quite regularly via text message just about how it was playing and how to handle different situations.
He's mentioning Quinadra Miller, graduated now.
Grad.
Yeah, but she was the first little general that you had.
She was.
And a sharpshooter. Yeah, like Albany.
As of the records have shown, I've dug through and I've kind of went through a lot of different books, and right now Quinadra's the school's all-time leading scorer.
Wow.
Over 2,000 points.
We're visiting with Brent McNeal. He's the head coach of the Southside girls basketball team. Tamia Lawson, what are her leadership qualities?
She's probably the smartest basketball player next to Stephanie Tipler.
That you've ever coached?
That I've coached. Highly intelligent kid. She's like a Swiss Army knife. She can do a little bit of everything. She can handle the ball. She rebounds it well. She can score it. Her basketball vision is unbelievable. Like, she sees the floor so well. She's a lesser athletic version of what a 2013 Keishana James was.
Awesome. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Keishana James graduated from Southside, played at Murray State, was listed with those draftees in the WNBA. Now she's playing overseas and is making a career of it. We had an opportunity to speak with Miss James a few days ago. Let's hear her comments about Coach McNeal now.
I just remember not wanting to miss a day of school just because I wanted to be around people with good energy and good vibes. Coach McNeal especially, he was the reason why I always wanted to be at school, really, because I wanted to go to practice. He was the type of coach that pushed me and he impacted my life very, very much. Made me reach inside myself and give my best all the time. He helped me push to go to college and play Division I basketball. Academically, he pushed me too because I kind of struggled. I think he was the reason I started to buckle down and try to do the best that I could in school so I can actually go Division I and be eligible to play. You have a lot of positive people at Southside. You have a lot of people that are going to take care of your kids. They're going to want to be there for your children. They'll have people around them that support them. They'll feel like they have people in their corner. They will want to go to school and actually be better each day.
Coach, I would assume you look at Keyshauna James and the career she's had. Am I correct in saying that's why you do what you do?
Correct. You just try to impact lives in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We tell kids often, everybody's not going to play college ball, but it doesn't have to stop after high school. You can go on to college and become successful in whatever venture that you decide to jump into. We look at Raven Forrest, who was in that class of 13 as well. Mm-hmm. She's a nurse. You have Faith Merriweather, who's in the legal system, like she's a lawyer, you know. So it's crazy to see how successful you can become once you learn how to grow, how to mature, and how to accept whatever life throws at you.
I know you have 2 daughters of your own, but to think that you have a number of daughters now, your former players. Had someone jumped in a time machine, got on the Tennessee Tech campus and said, "Hey, Brent, in a few years, you're going to be a girls basketball coach," what would you have said to that person?
Probably would have laughed, first and foremost, and just been like, "Yeah, right. You know, football's what I do." Mm-hmm. You know, so never in a million years would I have dreamed of being in this position that, you know, God has really blessed me to be in this moment. So, you know, I don't take any of it for granted at all.
Talk about your assistant coach, Coach AC.
Great help, especially with me doing football. He handles all of the off-season things, getting the girls in shooting form and getting them prepared for when I come back. Oftentimes, the last 4 or 5 years, we've been in a playoff run, so the basketball season starts at the same time that football's kind of coming to an end. So doesn't have a great assistant, our program would probably crumble, honestly.
Thank Adrian Comer for his efforts. We're visiting with Brent McNeal. He's the head coach of the Southside Lady Hawks. Coach, talk about, if we go back and talk about 2011, 2012, 13, what were some of the things, and you talk about adversity and getting over that, knowing what that feels like. Take us behind the scenes a little bit. What was that like for a football guy to go in and be a girls basketball coach? What were some of the things you had to overcome?
One of the major things and I actually talked to Coach Kevin Eastman at that time, he was with the Boston Celtics. He and I were sitting down talking, and I told him one of the things that I figured out. Guys need to play good to feel good. Girls need to feel good to play good. So,
and you know this from experience.
Yes.
You coached them.
So you have to pull back the reins a lot of times with girls, and you have to tap in emotionally in order to get the maximum basketball effort out of them. They have to feel good, like in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So it's almost reverse psychology for both of y'all. Like, you're like, hey, everything's going to be okay. You know, with guys, you can like get out there and go play hard and let's go do what we need to do.
Right.
And early on, I struggled with the merger of nurturing and still being demanding. And once you can get those two to merge together, man, kids will do anything you ask them to.
Now, at some point, though, the student athlete has to appreciate that demand from the coach.
Yeah. And like you said, that time, 2011, 2012, I didn't have any seniors on that group, so they were all juniors. And I can remember Keyshauna telling me one day, she said, "Coach, I went home and complained to my mom," and she said, "Are you going to quit?" And she was like, "No, Mama, I'll never quit." She said, "Well, quit talking about it." And from that point on, I often tell a lot of people the story of when I felt like that group changed. And one year I had them go and do some running, and I said, "Hey, I have a meeting to go to, but seniors, here you go." At that time, it was 2012, 2013. So I said, "Hey, seniors, this is what I need y'all to do." And just a little little thing I was trying, I went into one of the classrooms and just looked out the window to see, and I watched those kids lead the way. And from that point on, I said, these kids get it. They understand now that you care enough and you expect enough out of them that they don't want to disappoint you. And once you can get kids into that situation, you're good to go.
And am I correct in saying that is the same passion and I guess that team mindset that has sustained your program today?
I think so. Just, we all know your coaches are the expectations are always set by them. Mm-hmm. But we also know the teenage mindset in the locker room. If you have one kid that's going to disease it, it'll ruin everybody. But if you have one kid that's the extension of the coach saying, hey, y'all, this is what we need to do, it builds everybody, because now my expectations are the same as yours, and it goes around the room. And all of a sudden, none of us want to fail, and none of us want to disappoint one another. Again, we talk about family. We can be disappointed, but we never want our family members truly disappointed in us. We know some things are going to happen, but if I can make my mother or my father proud of me, I feel accomplished, and I can remember Coach Tyson never yelled at us, and he would make you feel this big because you felt like you disappointed him. And that was the worst feeling. I was like, man, be mad at me. Don't be disappointed in me. And it's now, that's what you see now when I look at it. And that's what he calls before the season every single year and just gives advice. And, man, I just absorb it like a sponge.
Brent McNeal is the head coach of the Southside Lady Hawks. He's also an assistant coach on the Southside football team. We are blessed and honored to have him on the staff at Southside and really making a contribution throughout the community. We're going to take a quick time out and come back for a final segment with Coach Brent McNeal. You're listening to For the District, the JMCSS podcast on JJ 97.7 FM.
Hi, I'm Terica Smith, a local attorney and proud JMCSS graduate, but I'm also a JMCSS parent. We chose Jackson Madison County Schools for educational options that are innovative and challenging. Whether it's the Academic Academy at Northeast or early college and career opportunities at JCM Early College High, JMCSS offers classes and programs that will prepare my son for college and beyond. Plus, JMCSS is a Level 5 district and tuition free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition-free, Jackson Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
Welcome back to For the District, the JMCSS podcast on JJ 97.7 FM. Our guest has been Brent McNeal. He is the head coach of the very successful Southside Lady Hawks program. I think you undersell it if you just say team, because he's had this rolling for quite a while. Coach, having said that, what are the expectations for the second half of the season? Is it okay if I go ahead and make reservations for Murfreesboro?
Right now, we just tell our kids, get better each day. That's our number one goal. Practice, games. We want to accomplish something in practice that most teams want in a game.
Which is?
Go as hard as you possibly can. Get better in practice. Compete. Make each other better. Like, if your practices feel harder than games, you're on your way. So that's our goal, man. We try not to think ahead. We try best not to look ahead. But you as a coach, you peek and see what some teams are doing, over in the Upper Cumberland. And I can say it because that's where I went to school. Uh-huh. So over in Baxter, Tennessee, there's a team that
out east
that I kind of keep my eyes on sometimes because I can't help it, and that's the Upperman Lady Bees.
Right.
And I tell our girls, hey, they're still rolling also. And until somebody says otherwise, they're still the defending state champion.
They're the UConn to your Lady Vols, or the Lady Vols to your UConn.
As of right now, it's just like all games I've played, that's one team that currently 0-2 against.
Wow.
And both losses have occurred in the state tournament.
That's not what you want, but that's not a bad dynamic.
That's just the big
Coach, I
old
think
circle.
a lot of fans have to realize, sit back and remember that you lost a lot of talent last year. Talk about, before we continue to look ahead, set the stage and talk about the talent that you lost.
Just looking at it, and again, like you said, people don't realize Kalen Rogers, who's currently in Kansas playing basketball down that way. Lily Carlton, who was arguably, we called her like the mother of the locker room, my leader on the floor. Extremely athletic kid who's playing at Jackson State right now. Excuse me. And then Kamani Turner, just a spark of energy off the bench. Like, she came in and we just told her, hey, go play, go wreak havoc. So those three, along with the other seniors that, Bria Harris was a point guard that we also lost, so we could bring guards in and we could bring people off the bench that we could depend on for long stretches at a time, honestly.
I'm reminded of something. You mentioned Bria, and number one, thank you for coaching. I'm going to say raising. Thank you for mentoring quality young people. When we're out at the store, when we're out in the community, my kids see your players. Hey, Daddy, that's Bria. Hey, Daddy, didn't she play at Southside? And when you see these kids out in the community, well, they're adults now, but they're always doing the right thing. So I want to say thank you because, and I know you're not the only coach doing it, but I'm sitting here talking to you, so I want to say thank you because when these elementary school kids go to these basketball games, it may as well, in their eyes, be an NBA or WNBA game.
Right.
And so the fact that I know you're doing more than coaching and giving these girls X's and O's. So I want to thank you for raising and coaching, mentoring quality young people because I know my children aren't the only ones, but just to see them out in the community, it's always fun to see them do the right thing. What has to happen right, Coach, in order for you to punch your ticket for Murfreesboro once again? Which, by the way, as a head coach, how many times have you guys appeared in the state tournament?
Twice.
2017
and this past year.
Wow.
And we've had 2 other times where sub-state teams. So what was it, 2019? Again, one of the things that you need is, everybody stays healthy.
Right.
Second thing, you have to have luck. I don't care how good you are.
Say it again,
you
Coach.
You have to have luck.
Really?
Like, for every team out there, nobody makes it because you're just better than everybody. You need some things to fall in place, but most importantly, because we're asking 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids to lead us.
Yeah.
So you need everybody to stay healthy.
Coach, you mentioned luck, but help me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also the LeBron effect in which when you have a program that has performed well for years, a lot of times when the calls could go either way, they give it to the team in the program who's rolling, which is, that's earned respect. But when you say luck, I think that's along the same lines.
Right. It's just a lot of things that go into it. We've had our string of bad luck with injuries over these last 5 years. Other teams have as well, but some of ours have just been magnified at the time that they happen. I often think back to that 2019 team. Quinadra goes down in the region championship game. So it's not the beginning of the season. This is, region championship, sub-state is in 2 days, and then so you don't have a lot of time to prepare your team for this new outcome and this new lineup. And
you guys had to go to Covington that year.
We had to go to twice. We've been to Covington 2 times in the sub-state.
Yeah, some very exciting games over the last several years with the Southside Lady Hawks. We're visiting with Brent McNeal. He's head coach of the girls basketball team at Southside. He's also offensive coordinator for the football team. Coach, final comments about the student body there at Southside, because you're not just a basketball coach. You're also throughout the campus. Is there a particular profile for a Hawk, for a Southside student?
Unity. Just being one. Nobody feels like they're better than the next. So we just have a wide range of kids that all come from different walks of life, but at the end of the day, that family and that camaraderie is it's so fun to watch. You see a kid that's a band member hanging out with an athlete hanging with a kid that's in the theater. So you just have all walks of life that all merge together, and the biggest places you see it is the cafeteria where, we often see things on TV. You have a jock table and the nerd table and
division.
Yes, but it's no division. It's like, hey, this is just kids enjoying one another. So that's one of the things.
Quick comment about Damon Fuller. The uninformed will check a box score and say, man, I guess he's lost it. But we know he has it.
Correct.
And he's got nothing but freshman and sophomore, which thanks to Facebook memories, I was reminded, what was it, 4 years ago, he was kind of in the same situation. So a quick comment about Damon Fuller.
There's 26 freshmen and sophomores in that gym right now, 26 of them. So if you can imagine what that's like dealing with 26 14-year-old males. Like, if you can only imagine what that's like.
I was a 14-year-old male.
Yeah, we both were, so you imagine the mindset. But just another great mentor to have, to learn from, to see with your own two eyes every single day. And just even watching those kids now, I get to peek in their fourth block and just to see the maturation from August to now. They're going to be really exciting to watch because they're learning on the fly, honestly. Most of the time as freshmen and sophomores, we kind of get to sit behind some guys
and watch.
Some of us had the likes of a Darius Brooks and a Ashley Martin and Michael Price, Quincy Bowers, and Mark Carroll. We had some guys we could just say, okay, I can wait my time, and then when it's your turn, you take off. Well, these guys have been thrown in the fire right now, and it's only going to make them better. So everybody might want to try to get their hands in on Coach Fuller now because those guys are coming.
Make sure you take an opportunity to head to the Hawks Nest to see the Hawks and the Lady Hawks this year. Don't wait for that postseason trip to Middle Tennessee. Coach, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for visiting us on For the District.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this podcast and this episode. Remember, you can check out For the District on Apple and Google Podcasts, on Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you check out your favorite podcasts. So just remember, tune in next Sunday right here on JJ 97.7 FM. I'm Greg Hammond saying have a great Sunday, a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.